this is Dawn from Ninja Bunny Crochet. Today I have for us to do the Easy Chunky Cowl. This is a really awesome cowl that you can make up. It works up super quick. It's made with a super bulky 6 yarn. I think it came out really super pretty. This is a great project if you have that last minute Christmas gift that you need to make. You know, there's always that one person that says, oh, I'm not coming to Christmas, and then they decide that they're going to come, and you're scrambling to get a gift for them. This is super great for that person because it works up in about maybe a couple of hours, so you can work it up even the night before. So it's a really, really cute cowl, and I think that you'll enjoy making this. And let me just bring the camera down a little bit so you can actually see what these stitches look like. It's made with what's called a cluster V stitch, and it looks like it's a complicated stitch, but it really isn't. It's super easy to do. So let me just push this aside, and I'll show you the type of yarn I use, the hook, and all the other stuff that you'll need to make this this really pretty cowl. So I used Lion Brand's Hometown USA yarn. Again, like I said, this is a super bulky 6 yarn. This yarn is a 94% acrylic, 6% rayon. It's super soft and it's got this nice shine to it. It comes in a 4-ounce ball, 64 yards, 59 meters. You're going to need at least 3 balls to make this yarn. You're only going to use a little bit of the 3rd ball. If your tension is a little bit tighter than mine, you might get away with 2 balls, but I would definitely recommend having 3 to make sure you have enough yarn. The recommended hook size is a 9mm or N hook size. I believe my hook says an M/N or a 13 if you go by the number sizes. Depends on what's on your hooks. This yarn is machine washable and dryable. The color that I used is called Carson City Tweed. I said the hook size I used, it's called an M/N, and it is a 9mm hook. So this is a big bulky yarn and a big hook. So it works up super quick. You're going to want to have some stitch markers. I used 3 stitch markers when I was making this. Basically, I used the stitch markers to hold the side of the cowl together while I was sewing on the buttons. And speaking of buttons, I used these buttons are about 1.5 inches button. I got these at Walmart's. They're just plastic buttons. You can use any type of button that you want. I would not recommend anything smaller than 1.5 inches. You can certainly go with larger buttons. You need a yarn needle, something with a fairly large eye, but also big, small enough to get through your button too, but big enough to get your yarn through. And a pair of scissors. So once you have all of your tools, let's grab your hooks, grab your yarn, and let's start making a easy chunky cowl. To start the cowl, we're going to start with a chain of 62. We're going to work 1 single crochet starting 2nd chain from hook. The loop on your hook does not count as a stitch. Flip your chain over. We're going to work in the back bars of the chain. So this is the first stitch right here. This will be your 2nd stitch. So insert your hook into that 2nd stitch and work your single crochet. Continue working those back bars, working 1 single crochet into each stitch all the way down the chain, and I'll meet back up with you at the end of the chain. I'm at the end of row 1. We have 61 stitches. To start row 2, we're going to chain up 3 and turn the work. The chain 3 counts as a double crochet. So this stitch it worked with this double crochet. So then we're going to skip the next 2, so that's 1, 2, and we're going to start our cluster V stitch in this stitch right here. So yarn over the hook, insert into the stitch, and pull up a loop. Yarn over and pull through 2 loops, yarn over, insert back into the stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. Chain up 2, yarn over, go back into the same stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, go back into the same stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, 3 loops left on the hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. That is a cluster V stitch. Skip the next 2 stitches, and we're going to do another cluster V. So we're going to yarn over, insert into the hook, into the stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, back into the same stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, 3 loops left on the hook, yarn over, pull through all 3, chain 2, yarn over the hook, insert back into the same stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert back into the same stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, 3 loops left on the hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. Skip 2 stitches, yarn over, insert into the next, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert back into the same stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, 3 loops left, yarn over, pull through all 3. Chain 2, yarn over, insert back into the same stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert back into the stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, 3 loops left, yarn over, pull through all 3. So continue working the cluster V stitch all the way down the row till you get to the last 2 stitches. So you're going to skip 2, work a cluster V, skip 2, work a cluster V. I'll meet back up with you at the end of the row. I'm at the end of row 2. We have 3 stitches left. I'm going to skip 2 stitches and place a double crochet in the last stitch. To start row 3, chain up 3 and turn the work. Now we're going to place a cluster V stitch in the center of each one of the cluster V stitches in row 2. So yarn over the hook, insert into the chain space, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, 3 loops left on the hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. Careful not to split your yarn. Chain 2, yarn over the hook, insert back into this chain space, pull through 2, yarn over, insert back into the chain space, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, 3 loops left, yarn over, pull through all 3. Go to the next cluster V stitch, yarn over, insert into the space, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert back into the space, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, 3 loops left on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 3, chain 2, yarn over, insert back into the stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert back into the stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, 3 loops left, yarn over, pull through all 3. You're going to continue working cluster V's into each one of the cluster V's on row 2. When you get to the last stitch, you're going to place a double crochet on the top of that turning chain. I'll meet back up with you at the end of the row. I'm at the end of row 3, and we're going to place a double crochet into the top of that turning chain. To start row 4, we're going to chain up 3 and turn the work. For rows 4 through 8 are going to be exactly the same. They're going to be a repeat of row 3. So it's very simple. For rows 4 through 8, we're just going to repeat row 3. So remember, the turning chain counts as a stitch. So your first stitch and your last stitch will be a double crochet. You're going to place cluster V stitches into the chain 2 spaces of each chain 2 space. So it's a very simple repeat. So continue working the cluster V stitch for rows 4 through 8, and I'll meet back up with you at the end of row 8. I'm at the end of row 8, and we're going to just fasten right off. And we can weave in our ends. Let's just get the camera up here. So let's get our yarn needle out so we can weave these ends in. This is going to be on the inside, so we're going to go ahead and weave this in this way under some of these stitches. You don't want to pull it too tight because you don't want it to pucker your stitch. But you do want to go back and forth a couple of times to make sure that your end isn't going to come back out again. Get that snipped off. And do the same with your beginning tail, and then we'll come back and get our buttons sewn on. Okay, lay your piece out on the table, and then you're going to fold in your sides so that I'm going to fold this in like this. And this will fold where your side here will meet, just like this. And this is where you're going to sew down your two buttons. Now I didn't make it so that the buttons came off, but you could, if you wanted to sew your buttons on here, and then you can just have them push through like that. You could do that too. So you could just sew your buttons onto your bottom piece and then just push them through the holes so that they just, so your cowl will unbutton. Or you could put them on permanently where you pull the piece over your head. However you choose to do it. I put my buttons on so that you pull the piece over your head. So just grab a length of yarn, and we're just going to sew on the buttons. So you want to make sure you have your two pieces lined up. I would use a stitch marker or a little piece of yarn or something just to hold your pieces together while you're starting to sew them down. That way they won't move. So you have them in the right position. Get one in the middle here too. Let's grab another stitch marker here. So that way when you're sewing it, your piece doesn't separate. You can just put your button on. I like to go through more than once just to make sure the button is nice and secure and that the pieces are sewn together. And just tie the button to tie off the yarn. Nice secure knot. Clip off those ends. And do the same with the other button. these ends off. And then you can make sure your buttons are secure, which they are. And you can take out your stitch markers. And there is your finished cowl. Turn it this way so you can see the buttons. So if you've liked this tutorial, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, and don't forget to ring that bell. Thanks for watching, and happy crocheting! Bye-bye!